ready? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is David Doré, and I'm the president of the downtown and the northwest campuses of Pima. Downtown campus is hosting its third Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies event. We're 3 out of 3. This event on campus, the first event on campus, happened almost 1 year ago today. Titled Forging New Relationships. And that Ethnic Studies Forum set the stage for institutionalizing ethnic studies in Arizona and the formation of a statewide articulation task force. Because of our work together, 3 resolutions were adopted by the City Council of Tucson, the Pima County Board of Supervisors, and the National Association of Ethnic Studies. And an articulation task force was formed. Indeed, we have an exhibit of all 3 resolutions in the atrium right now, and I invite you to go read their powerful statements during one of the breaks this afternoon, if you have not already. Now, the second event was held in October, and that was the inaugural Racquel Ruby Goldstein Lecture in Ethnic, Gender, and Global Studies, with guest lecturer Dr. Rosalva Ada Hernandez. Panelists, students, and community members engaged in dialogue around indigenous women's movements and social justice. Today, with your help, we will work to establish a Center of Excellence for Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies here at Pima Community College. Each event that we have held has built on the momentum of the previous, expanding our program, building new and stronger relationships and partnerships, such as our partnership with the University of Arizona and Collaborative Research in Action, or CREA, as it is more popularly known, and engaging a larger audience in a crucial dialogue. Because of your continued work, each time we are more and more successful. And because of your work, we continue to contribute to building a more inclusive, rich, and compassionate campus and community. I would like to take a brief moment to thank the Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies Work Group and the Summit Planning Committee for all the work that is done for each event and the many, many, many hours of work it takes to strengthen ethnic, gender, and transborder studies at Pima College. So before we begin, I'll give a brief overview of this afternoon's activities. Our afternoon workshop is focused on the creation of a Center of Excellence, and that will last approximately 1 hour. We will then have a brief break before returning to the Amethyst Room to hear from our Chancellor and then present and discuss the workshop results. We'll wrap up today's activities with recognitions, a closing ceremony by Lisa Tizer, and then art exhibits and book signings in the atrium and art gallery. I encourage everyone to take a moment to look at our students' exhibits during the breaks. And right now, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Francisca James Hernandez, who is our lead faculty for Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies, and she will give an overview and instructions for this afternoon's workshop. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Now you can, yeah. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Dr. Doré, for the introduction. And I want to welcome everybody. Muy buenas tardes, muy bienvenidos y bienvenidas a todos y a todas. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to be sort of leading off the workshop, talking to you about our Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies initiative. To sort of lay the groundwork for what you're going to be doing over the next hour to hour and 15 minutes. We've been working very hard and very diligently, actually for many years, to work on the Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies Initiative. But it's really taken off over the last 18 to 24 months, and I do have to give a great deal of credit to our chancellor, because he has, I was telling him just earlier, opened up some discursive liberty to talk about things and think about things and organize things that had not been supported or had been there had been open hostility to in our college, to be quite honest. The environment has changed dramatically. One of the things that has happened under his leadership is to get a whole new crop of administrators that have been tremendously supportive, and we'll talk about that later. So we've been in the trenches, so to speak, for many years, and but as of the last 18 to 24 months, it's really taken off. So what I'm going to present to you today is happened pretty much in that last period of time. What is ethnic, gender, and transborder studies? Well, you've all been listening to the wonderful presentations and getting a deeper grounding in what that is, and I'm sure you've come into this with those interests already in mind. But at its basis and at its foundation are the collective of ethnic studies disciplines, such as Mexican American Studies, Native American Studies, also known as American Indian Studies, African American Studies, and Asian Pacific Islander Studies. In addition to that, we are combining into the concept of our initiative Gender and Women's Studies, which is inclusive of LGBTQ studies, and Transborder, Border, Global Studies. So all of these terms are really very symbolic and inclusive of much larger intellectual and academic terrain than just the term itself, some of which are listed up there on this slide. So ethnic, gender, and transborder studies, as many of us know, contributes to a robust academic curriculum and intellectual environment. It builds diverse educational pathways from the K-12 system to the community colleges and universities, and it nurtures students' understanding and appreciation of themselves and of people different from themselves. It contributes to the recruitment, retention, and graduation of students of color. We know this because there's a great deal of research into this matter, of diverse gender and sexual identities, and women. That is to say, of populations that have been historically marginalized or excluded from institutions of higher education until very recently, and still there's quite a bit of struggle, especially for students of working class origins. Creating bonds with community members and groups, businesses, nonprofit organizations through partnerships and collaborations is part of the concept, and part of what it contributes to is developing productive residents and citizens in a diverse and globalizing world, an informed and active citizenry, and also, of course, challenging racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, xenophobia, and unfortunately, the resurgence that we're experiencing in these various forms of oppression and discrimination in U.S. society. So the goals of today's summit are to inform a broad audience about ethnic, gender, and transborder studies on the theme of promoting excellence in social justice education. They also include developing an ethnic, gender, and transborder studies center of excellence, as we've been mentioning, with input from faculty, students, staff, administration, community members, and groups. This is a process in which we want to be very open, very inclusive. We are a community college. We are tax funded by our local county, and the vision is most absolutely one of open access and inclusivity and a broad range of ideas going into the conceptualization of this initiative. And that involves, of course, building partnerships and collaboration with internal and external constituencies, and that's what we've been doing. We've been growing and attracting a lot of internal people internal to the college and external to the college. The goals also are to promote and increase enrollments at the college in ethnic, gender, and transborder studies courses and programs. And by the way, just to let you know, in your packet, there is a sheet called a fact sheet. And everything that I'm showing to you right now is on that fact sheet. You could follow along or refer back to it later. So what have we done to get here? As I said, it's been a long period of time. We've been working to, especially the bullet number 2, has been a long-term struggle of maintaining our legacy courses in Mexican American and American Indian Studies. To further this work along, we established a work group of faculty, staff, administrators, students, and community members to develop the initiative. And last year, right about this time, almost exactly a year ago, we held the first Ethnic Studies Forum at Pima College, in which we drew 150 participants. Very similar to today. The feeling is very similar to me, of a great feel. What else have we done? We wrote and submitted a successful application for an Ethnic Studies Articulation Task Force. This is to facilitate the transfer of credits from the community colleges, not just ours at Pima, but across the state, to the state universities. So this initiative was an initiative that went much beyond the bounds of Pima Community College, but certainly affects us here and affects students' experience within ethnic, gender, and transborder studies courses to help facilitate the transfer of credits and also to help facilitate the building of programs. And I should add to the third that's often ignored is an ATF, an articulation task force, is a really critical mechanism and kind of infrastructural piece to building academic programs. Because I think one thing that's often overlooked about ATFs is that it brings faculty together from across the state in a discipline to talk to each other. And that's the foundation of building disciplines. The 3 resolutions that Dr. Duray already mentioned that we received in support of this ATF that we have on exhibit out in the atrium. We also developed a new name, Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies, reflecting the incorporation of gendered women and global studies. We do have a very intersectional perspective and philosophy to our vision. Getting very much more practically and sort of boots on the ground and hardcore demonstration of the college's commitment is committing what's called FTEs, right? The full-time equivalencies for faculty positions. This is the first time that the college has committed funds to hiring faculty in some of these discipline areas. At least that's the potential. Yeah. We have some applause here. This is very significant because even those of us who have been working on this discipline, even though we're trained in these fields, we're not faculty in, for example, under the heading of Gender and Women's Studies officially. So we have actually right now, 2 full-time faculty positions that are under consideration, that are being hired at, going through the process at this moment. One with a potential split with American Indian Studies. That's a provisional 1-year position at the moment, and the other is a permanent position with a potential split in gender and women's studies. Another accomplishment that we've achieved over the past year is a new degree option for liberal arts with a concentration in ethnic, gender, and transborder studies, which will start up as of this coming fall. We've also created and achieved, in conjunction with our university partners, 5 AZ transfer curriculum pathways between Pima and the University of Arizona in these disciplines: American Indian Studies, Gender and Women's Studies, including LGBTQ studies and Mexican American studies. And we have wonderful partnerships, especially with the University of Arizona, and we are expanding and deepening our partnerships in these disciplinary areas with ASU and NAU as well. A district-wide lead faculty position for ethnic, gender, and transborder studies. That too is a real financial commitment. It's a beginning step towards kind of some dedicated sort of blending faculty, sort of administrative. That's not really administrative, so don't take me literally on that. But it does involve sort of more of organizing of programs than just a pure faculty position does. Cross-listed courses in ethnic studies with other disciplines. This is very vital to the growth of programs. Also, in terms of partnering, we want to just highlight a couple of the many that we've done, but one of the very important ones we have is with the Collaborative Research in Action. It is the baby of Gabriel Higuera, who's a doctoral student in Mexican American Studies at the University of Arizona, in which he trains student interns from Pima and the university to go into the public schools to in turn train those students on social justice and ethnic studies research. So we're starting to work with people, individuals, groups, organizations that are taking education and deepening it and making it more meaningful at earlier age levels, and to expose these students to research as research shows doing this this exposure and this training will bring more students to higher education, and that's our goal. Absolutely, our goal is to create, if you will, pathways, pipelines, however you want to term that, because that is really the ultimate goal. Additional achievements are in curriculum. We have various courses running. In fact, we have 2 starting up just the week after spring break here at the downtown campus, La Chicana and History and Culture of Mexican Americans in the U.S. So you can still enroll, so enroll, or get people to enroll. Dr. DeRay already mentioned some of these things. The lecture we had in the fall, the summit we're having today. A shout out to Yolanda Gonzalez, who won Staff Member of the Year Award for all of Pima for all of her work she dedicates to these areas of study, even though that's not her area, but under the leadership of Dr. Lorraine Morales, Yolanda has been able to work very closely and help us a great deal, along with many other staff. She's just the tip of the iceberg. We have so many staff who are helping and being incredible in this effort. It really takes an incredible institutional effort, and that's what the leadership at this college is allowing and encouraging to happen. It takes time, though, and we're building. So building an infrastructure, speaking of building an infrastructure, curriculum, personnel, communications, financial. We have Pcc Foundation now on board with us. Thankfully, they've been extremely helpful. We have them out in the atrium accepting donations. Anyone who wants to pitch in, we'd love that. But now we have a financial agent that can help us take in donations, because believe it or not, we had the problem last year of getting donations and didn't have anywhere to put them, but now we do. Future projects and goals are our coursework, of course. That's always the nuts and bolts of what we do, our teaching, our curriculum, our courses. Strengthening the gen ed requirements for these courses in order to make them more attractive to students and more useful to them in terms of getting transferred over to the university. We will be hosting and co-chairing the first ever statewide Ethnic Studies ATF meeting in the fall 2017. That was a result of our work from last year. And our goals, our shorter term goals are to establish a Department of Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies, and then a little bit longer goal is to establish the Center of Excellence for Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies, as you know. And that's why, that's one of the reasons we're hosting this summit today, is to get you involved in that from the ground up, not afterwards, but from the ground up, because we feel our collaboration and our commitment to the community demands that. So here we go. Now your work begins. And anybody keeping time on me? Oh, good. So these are the 2 questions you're going to be working over the next hour, or approximately that, 50 minutes. So I will read them, and then Dr. DeRay is going to come back up and give you a little more specific instructions. But the questions we feel would help us the most in getting your feedback And we do use your feedback, by the way. We did this in the forum last year. We had all those writing pads that you're going to be using today. We had them all transcribed thanks to Sophie Alves over at the University of Arizona. That's part of our partnership. She transcribed them all, and then we used them in creating the mission statement for the Ethnic Studies ATF, and we're going to do the same thing this time. This is not an empty exercise. We take your input, we value it, and we use it. The first question is, a center of excellence is a team, a shared facility or an entity that provides leadership, best practices, research support, and or training for a focus area. And another definition that we thought was useful is a place or an organization that is known for doing a particular activity very well, and that is involved in new developments and new ways of working. And we feel that what we're building is a new way of working. I had some other slides, but rather than do those, I've pretty much talked about them. I'll have Dr. Dore come up and transition you into the actual work.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Francisca. And again, thank you to everyone that is here, because Pima College, we operate within the context of our community, and we essentially need your input because we are better together. And so the structure of the workshop is that the members of each table will discuss these two questions. Now, most tables have a facilitator. So if the facilitators would now raise your hand at your table so that everyone knows who you are. And the role of the facilitator is to keep the group discussion on topic. Make sure everyone has a chance to contribute, keep the conversation moving, and remain neutral. And so what I'd like you to do now is take about 20 to 30 seconds to identify a scribe for your group, as well as someone who will report back about the group's discussion. And this can be the same person. So if you take a few seconds to do that. So now if the scribes would please write down the room number and your group number at the top of the first page on your writing pad. Scribes, your job is to write down key words and main points of the conversation at your table. Only the scribes will write on the pads of paper provided for the workshop. And those who will report about the group later on may use the index cards at your tables or desks, as may others in the group. Okay? Those who report verbally will have 90 seconds each for their presentation. So you have approximately 25 minutes for each of these two questions. We will give you a 5-minute warning before switching to the second question. And Francisca is serving as our timekeeper. And it will be up to each group to decide which question they want to discuss first. To repeat, there are 2 questions you will be discussing with others at your table. Number 1, what are the major components you would like to see as part of a Center of Excellence for Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies? Or number 2, develop a mission statement for a Center of Excellence for Ethnic, Gender, and Transborder Studies. You may now begin with your first question. Oh, so you can't see. Okay. I wanted to set it up to an iPad. Yeah, because I'm off maybe Wednesday. Okay, I'm going to interrupt everyone to tell you, if you have not already, it's time to move on to question number 2. Okay, so if you would take another 25 minutes for question number 2. Thank you.
great. I'm going to be in Washington. Yes. Which conference is that? Her reach